Dear Elon Musk, you have reached incredible heights in this world and occupy an honorable place among the geniuses known to mankind, which is why I still decided to turn to you. The higher forces have repeatedly helped me over the past 10 years, so I believe that my letter to you cannot go unnoticed. I have an unreasonable offer for you. It consists in combining my experience of many years of physical activity and yoga practices with your scientific knowledge in the field of information technology. This will help bring hundreds or even thousands of people back to life. Special people who, in one way or another, found themselves in situations similar to mine. Let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Oleg. I live in Ukraine, Kharkov City. In 2013, I unsuccessfully dived into the pool and broke my cervical vertebra. Officially, my diagnosis sounds like a compression fracture of the cervical vertebrae. How can I explain to a non-doctor? People with such a fracture have the highest probability of dying. 90% of people who have received this injury do not have a chance to live. All I could do for the first 3 months was blinking. From the first days, I heard from doctors that there was no chance, that I would lie down for some time, and then I would die. But since I am writing to you today, you understand that they were mistaken. More precisely, they all spoke correctly, since under such circumstances the spinal cord gradually dies and the person passes away. Just like you, almost 10 years ago I decided to write to Valentin Dickel. In his youth, he experienced a similar injury and, contrary to the forecasts of doctors, was able to get back on his feet. Now he has several rehabilitation centers in Russia, and clinics in European countries have received permission to use his technique to treat people with similar injuries. I didn't count on anything, just wrote, and he answered me. In the near future, I began to study according to his system for 8-12 hours a day, daily under his personal supervision. A year later, I realized that physical activity alone is not enough for the body. And I also decided to write to the yoga teacher Svyatoslav Dubiansky, who lived in India for a long time and was the personal translator of Sathya Sai Baba. And he also answered me. I began to practice his technique and continue to this day. For 8 years, I stubbornly combined Dickel's system of studies and Dubiansky's practice. From a lying person who could only blink, I turned into someone who every day, with the help of a special corset, walks for 4-5 hours and drives a car on his own. My body daily withstands loads of such a degree that not every fully healthy person can withstand. After these 8 years, I realized that my body needs something else, something that could bring me closer to my goal. Then I first learned about electronic stimulators that are implanted in the body. And literally 2 months later, I decided to have an operation, although professors of neurosurgery in Kyiv explained that there was no point in this, since during this period my spinal cord had already completely dried up. But what was their surprise when, after the examination, they saw an absolutely healthy spinal cord below the level of injury. They abruptly abandoned the words they had said earlier, and after 4 days, instead of one sensor, they installed 2 sensors for me, one in the cervical part and one in the lumbar part. After installing the sensor, I continue to work just as hard. Over the past almost 2 years, the thought has occurred to me that if this sensor and remote control are improved with various programs, the results will be more productive. The remote itself was invented about 15 years ago, and unfortunately, no one is working on its development. That is why I am turning to you, because who, if not you, may be interested in the embodiment of such an idea. During these 2 years, I have studied the principle of its work, and I see both positive results, and I understand all its shortcomings, which I can convey to you with the help of my feelings. I am ready to provide all the dynamics of my results for these almost 10 years in my own wrote book, photos and videos. My main message in addressing you is to offer myself for all the necessary experiments. The peculiarity of this experiment is that I can clearly formulate and convey the necessary indicators for improving the sensor, until the moment when a miracle happens. The fact is that in most cases, after the verdict of doctors, people simply give up. Even if they continue to live, then without classes and practices, and therefore they soon pass away. And this new invention will make them live more fully. I don't need money from you, and I'm not asking you to give me a magic injection. All my life I have worked by myself, and I know for sure that sooner or later I will achieve my goal. At this stage, being at the finish line, I feel the need for a little spark. And there is a feeling that it is you who can give me this spark. I believe in miracles because it has already happened to me. And I believe that you will become an integral part of this miracle. P.S. I continue to send you letters every month. Over these years, while I've been trying to reach you, I've made a lot of progress, and most importantly, I've come up with many ideas for developments in the field of rehabilitation. I already wrote to you about the electrostimulator and how I know it could be improved, but now I know for certain that this electronic stimulator combined with my exercises produces real results, because a few months ago I switched from a walker to walking with crutches, which means my balance has strengthened. However, I use a walking assistance device that isn't actually designed for this purpose, so I've modified it as best I could, but it's still not quite right. So now I have an additional project I'd like to bring to you. With your help, I want to create a walking device that would allow a person to calmly walk up to a car and get into it. Right now, all developers have rushed to create electronic walking devices, but they are very large, and more importantly, the electric drive does all the movement for the person, which means there is no real rehabilitation benefit at all. That's why I see an urgent need for a small device, without an electric drive, a device that would allow a person to both exercise and get into a car. Let my letters seem foolish and naive, but I am certain that this is exactly how the process of creating something new looks. With hope for your answer and respect. Oleg Arabi.